In the early days of Hearthstone, Murloc decks relied on flooding the board early on, gaining huge minions via synergies, and bursting down your opponent incredibly early. With the help of Anything Can Happen, Paladin took the classic game plan of the Murloc archetype and flipped it on its fishy head. Murloc Paladin seeks to play a few key Murlocs such as Bluegill Warrior and Murloc Warleader, then stall until turn 10 via healing and removal, finally finishing off their opponent with Anything Can Happen. This causes the board to fill up with Warleaders and Warriors, leading to an immense amount of instant charge damage that overwhelms your opponent. Since the release of Karazhan and the meta snapshot of August 30th, many new cards have found their way into the Murloc Paladin deck. Ivory Knight serves two purposes in Murloc Paladin. It provides additional healing and has the chance to add a third Anything Can Happen into your hand. Many decks can deal with one Anything Can Happen, some can deal with two, but very few can deal with 3 waves of Murlocs, if the game goes long enough. So how much damage will each copy of Anything do anyway? Murloc Paladin runs 2 copies of Bluegill Warrior and 2 copies of Murloc Warleader. Assuming that they all die and that they're all summoned by Anything, those 2 Bluegill Warriors with charge will have 6 attack each, equaling 12 damage total. The second copy of Anything is where things get interesting. Assuming all of the Murlocs summoned by Anything Can Happen have died, that's 4 total Bluegills and 4 total Warleaders that have died. So if you play the second Anything on an open board, you're going to either summon all 4 Warleaders and 3 Bluegills, or all 4 Bluegills and 3 Warleaders. That's 30 damage or 32 damage respectively. Against most decks, 2 copies of Anything is too much to deal with. Ivory Knight's third copy opens up for some even crazier combinations, but if you have the ability to play a third Anything, you're most likely going to win anyway. The Curator also makes a surprise appearance in this deck, but the reasoning behind its inclusion is extremely sound. It puts a Murloc into your hand, which you're looking to draw before turn 10. It also draws a Stampeding Kodo, which is an excellent card for stamping out aggressive low-costed cards and Acolytes of Pain. It will also draw an Azure Drake, which helps you cycle and look for your Anything cards. A side effect of the Curator is that you draw a removal, cycle, and a Murloc, which is your entire game plan in a single turn. Thinning your deck in that way allows you to draw more effective answers and threats. Barnes is also included, which may summon a Murloc. That makes your first Anything play that much better. Versus aggressive decks, it may seem wise to include even more healing. However, Tempestorm recommends dropping a Lay on Hands and an Ivory Knight in favor of 2 Loot Hoarders. The static healing provided by those cards simply isn't enough to stall you into the late game. But including early minions and card draw will shorten the time Murloc Paladin has to wait to draw its combo pieces, and draw more efficient answers. Dealing with a dynamic threat by using static healing can only help you for so long, but dealing with that threat early on and cycling for efficient answers increases the effective healing of your deck dramatically. The strategy behind teching for control decks is even simpler. Swapping the Kodo for Ragnaros is all that's necessary. Murloc Paladin takes advantage of slow control decks by taking advantage of its minions being removed. So removing a Kodo for Ragnaros will either lower their life total, making Anything more potent, or clear significant minions, which gives you time to gather your combo. Keep your early costed cards like Doomsayer and Acidic Swamp Ooze. All 4 of your Murlocs are supposed to be played and killed before you play your first Anything on turn 10. So it may be in your best interest to keep an appropriate Murloc in your mulligan. Also remember that True Silver Champion can bring the board back into your favor, heal your hero, or deny mid-range plays. That's about all we have for this fascinating deck today. If you enjoyed this deck introduction, be sure and leave us feedback in the form of a like, favorite, or comment. We'll see you next week. Besides the recommendation to remove your AoE package if you're facing a large amount of control decks. The suggested replacements for Maelstrom Portal and Lightning Storm are Argent Horse.